month of having these turbos installed on my BMW. Definitely enjoying them. They make good boost. From a month standpoint, I would definitely say that I would recommend these turbos. I don't have any complaints. They spool quickly, they're not smoking, and they definitely make a lot of power. I do notice, compared to the 17Ts, that they probably take about 200 RPM more to get to full boost. So they have a little bit more turbo lag, but you can make a lot more boost with these 19Ts using a lot less wastegate duty cycle. We're gonna go do a couple launches. That way you can see how the turbos perform. And then I'll also show you some of the differences that I had to do for the tune to go from the 17Ts to the 19Ts using Tuner Pro. So stay tuned for all of that. Alright guys, this part of the video I wanted to do a little bit of a side-by-side comparison compared to the 3-year-old 17Ts from Viv or the brand new 19Ts, the V4 version 4. So let's you can already see comparable difference in size. Like look at the actual exhaust manifold here. It doesn't actually kind of narrow down real tight, kind of like this one does. Alright, so let's take a measurement from here. We'll zero it out. And then we'll go to the same spot on this turbo. 156 thousandths bigger, the actual thickness of the hot portion of the turbo. You can see it in there. Let's see how narrow it gets coming off the manifold. And then I would say this is probably the most narrow spot right here. So that's 57 thousandths. I think it gets, I feel like it gets tighter. Like even right here. It doesn't measure as too much bigger, but it doesn't have such a big bottleneck. Like this kind of portion where right here it gets real tight in there, and this kind of stays a little bit bigger. Let's go ahead and measure the actual inlet. So let's start with this one over here. Zero it. And let's go to this one. So this actual inside of the inlet portion is 69 thousandths bigger, so it's actually bigger on here too. They are both the 2-inch inlets, but the 19T is bigger actually. So there is a little bit of a difference there. Measures 1 inch and 800 thousandths. And let's go over to the 17 Ts. 1 inch and 730 thousandths. Next part I want to measure is the actual cold side of the turbo. Let's zero it. Measure in the same spot. And those are fairly the same, so I'd say they definitely seem to be good quality. They are like the rivets here. The blade count's the same on both. The design's a little bit different. One thing actually is these 17 Ts, when I bought them, the wastegate on one of them was sticking. So I actually had to take the turbos out a year after, not even a year, 6 months after owning them, and I had to buy new actual wastegates to put inside there. So I had actually, you can see I welded that on there. It was the same on both of them. Can't see the other ones on the other side, but so that's not fun. It was actually sticking, so it would tighten and it would stay closed. So that was not a good issue to have. So I don't think there's a lot more slop in these, so at least I won't have that issue. All right, and then the last difference that I noticed, I want you to look at this housing. Okay, you can see, let's take this off so we can have a comparison. See the bolt pattern here? Kind of see the size of this? And let's go to the other one. And look at the size of that housing difference. Like this portion of it compared to that. Get a little measurement going. Zero it. It is almost half of an inch bigger. So that is quite a big difference in that portion too. You can see this little V-band compared to this one. That is a big difference. Tiny, not so tiny. So let's look here at a log we have. This is a 3rd gear pole. And you can see this little blue line here, that's the actual boost going up. This green line is the RPMs. So I took it all the way to 4,800 RPMs here. The little purple line, that is the actual boost target. You can see I'm right under boost target. So on this map, you can go to the boost and see my target's actually about 25 PSI, but I'm only getting 23.5. A couple things we need to look at here is the MAF, the requested wastegate duty cycle. That's the MAF. The wastegate duty cycle bank 1 is the amount that the wastegates have to close in order to make the target boost. If you go to the base value of your duty cycle and then you hit the PID, the light green is your actual base numbers, and then the darker green is what the actual tune is adding to it, adding or removing to meet the boost targets. So first we'll go in and look at what you need to change if you want to target more boost. This is all using Tuner Pro. And then next we'll look at what you need to do to the wastegate duty cycle in order to achieve that boost. So let's go ahead and look at Tuner Pro. So when making changes in Tuner Pro, this would be, for instance, if you already have a professional tune in Tuner Pro, and let's say you upgrade your turbos and you want to change your tune around a little bit. Let's say your tuner stopped doing tunes or is going to have to charge for a full revision and you just want to make some small changes. The first things you're going to end up looking at is you pull up the tune, you can go to load target, and every time I make any change to load target, I do AT also. That's for I believe the automatic transmission. Mine's the manual. And let's say you want to request a little bit more boost, like that tune we were looking at, I was requesting 25 psi. So if you go here, you can see I was requesting 25 psi at 180 load. So what I did is I increased the load at 3,400 RPM to 182, and that ended up being equivalent to about 27 psi of boost. So I made those changes to both of these tables. And these tables are going to be different in your tune because if you have a different map sensor or the map sensor, then there's just going to be different values. So then the next step you need to do is look at if you're hitting boost targets. If you're not hitting boost targets, then you go over to the wastegate duty cycle base. And this is this area right here is essentially where you're going to be driving full throttle. So it's going to kind of travel down here and then it's going to kind of hang out down low on these numbers here. This is how much duty cycle your turbos require to essentially hit target boost. And this is your base number. So this is before any of the actual computer, the PIDs raise or lower the wastegate duty cycle. And then the next tables that you're going to be using are the wastegate duty cycle adder. Oops, exit here. This is the adder, and then the wastegate duty cycle ceiling. These are more a broader area of requesting more wastegate duty cycle at a certain airflow, certain MAF requested. So if we go, we can look back at the tune and we can see a certain MAF number and see if we're meeting the boost requirement or the requested boost, or if we're not, we can end up raising the actual request, the wastegate duty cycle in those areas. So let's go back and take a peek at the tune, and then we can make some small changes to our wastegate duty cycle base numbers. So if we look back at the wastegate duty cycle base table, you can see these numbers in the left column. Those are your boost set point numbers. I don't know if it'll focus here. That is your boost set point numbers. So you can see once I hit boost on here, the set point is at 2.43. But if I go down a little bit, the boost set point lowers. That's where it's going to put you here on this actual table. So let's go where we're hitting, getting to our max boost. Our set point's 2.43. So you look here, 2.4. That means we're using this bottom actual row. Everything on the bottom, because it's going to be coming down here, and then it gets to that 2.4 number. So then the next area we need to look is the MAF. That's the MAF requested wastegate duty cycle. So if we look right about on here at, I'm not hitting my actual boost targets, I'm just below it. So the MAF requested duty cycle is 278. And then the other number you need to look at is the boost set point. I'm at 2.43. So at 278, I am not hitting my boost target. So we can go back to the computer and we could say at 278, which will be right here between 244 and 289. These tables could use a little bit more wastegate duty cycle. And it actually went all the way up past the math, like 420, 450. So what I would go and do is add, let's say, like 10% to these tables, maybe 5% starting off, and make sure you like the changes. So to do that, you can do multiply, then go 1.1, and then you would execute, and then that raises up these tables here. Make sure you save your table when you do that, but I don't want to save it because I don't want to make any changes right now. The other area you can look at is, like I said, the ceiling adder and then the adder airflow. These are two different tables. From what I looked at online, the ceiling adder is the amount that the actual, like the PID system, the computer, can add to the base. So if it's going to add a certain amount of wastegate duty cycle, this is the amount that it's the ceiling that it can do. I'm not 100% positive on that. Anybody knows exactly for sure, please leave a comment. Just here to try to spread some knowledge, but don't want to spread the wrong knowledge. The next one is this adder airflow. This is kind of gives you more of a broad area to add to. So you could even, that 280, you could take and just add, you could do like +1. On these tables, you want to do smaller moves. It's like +1 there. You could +1 all throughout. You want to make smaller moves though in these tables, okay? So those are the main tables right now that can help you with changing or adapting from like 17Ts to a 19T. Those are kind of the important ones. There's a couple other tables that are important for just setting up a tune. If you guys are interested in learning more about doing a full tune for yourselves or learning this system, just leave a comment and we will see if more people are interested in this stuff. It does take a lot of research online. I had to go through a lot of different forums, just read a lot of information. But it is fun to mess with your tune. I would not recommend taking or using the 19Ts and just using a MHD map. They are not going to be set up correctly for that. MHD is awesome, but not when you have upgraded big turbos. Other than that, those are some of the ways that I quickly changed in order to go from like 24 PSI all the way to 26 PSI. Yeah, so like and subscribe, and you know, if you want to see more videos on Tuner Pro, I can kind of give a whole series on it. So just leave a comment if you guys would like to see more on Tuner Pro. All right, thanks for watching.